Have you ever heard of the term people pleaser? Well, here's the definition. It's someone who thinks more about the needs of others than they do about their own needs, so much so that they forget about their own needs. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow SEC Roughriders, and most welcome guests, and especially my friend Gary. Today, I'd like to tell you a story about how people-pleasing for me went from a very ugly thing to a very beautiful thing. It all begins in Staten Island, which is where I grew up. I'm the older of 2 children. And my brother and I couldn't have been more opposite. I was good in school, I got good grades, I did what I was supposed to do. I had friends, and it was easy for my parents. And my brother, on the other hand, he didn't do his homework, he wasn't focused, he had no discipline, he wasn't good in school, and he also had social problems. So the 2 of us were very, very different. And my parents had an expectation for me to rescue my brother. And I lived up to that expectation because I wanted to please them and I wanted their love. So to give you an example, I created this beautiful poster which had of the human anatomy, and I crafted all the bones and I laid it out and I labeled it, and it was just a beautiful poster. And the reason I remember it is because it wasn't my homework assignment, it was my brother's. Lest you think he was nothing more than a millstone around my neck, I have to tell you I do love him and still do, and he is a funny guy. But this had a profound effect on me, and what it resulted in ultimately was a huge amount of anger and a lot of resentment, which was very deep-seated for a very, very long time. And the reason for that was oftentimes his needs were in conflict with my needs, and I was helping him rather than paying attention to my own needs. And the message from my parents was really, I thought that he is more important than I was, and it really pissed me off. I was angry. So I ask those of you in the audience who may be people pleasers, if there's any, dig deep and find out if there's any positive emotions associated with that. I would bet you're not going to find any. But beyond that, there was a lot of hurt and a lot of damage to me. This went on through my childhood, and when it came time for me to go to college, I thought to myself, I gotta get out of here. And I was the first person in my family to go away to school. I asked my parents, I actually told them, and they agreed to it, and I was ecstatic. I was very, very thankful to have that opportunity. And I went away to school, and I did well. I came out, I graduated, I went to work for Young & Rubicam, which is a major international ad agency, and in 12 years, I became the CFO of a $100 million subsidiary of Young & Rubicam. During that time, I was still kind of a trained people pleaser. However, I did go into therapy, and I did have time to reflect on the past and the effect that it had on me. And I began to understand it better. But I was still in that mode, and people pleasers can get very busy because they're always helping everyone else. And besides helping everyone else, I was also getting promoted, and I was busier at work. I had a staff, but still I was very busy. So I was always thinking of ways to take shortcuts, to do things more efficiently, and even as it relates to clothing. And I do love clothing. I was always thinking, how can I make it easier to get dressed? And without sacrificing style. And that actually became the genesis of GOGOgracious. And GOGOgracious, our clothing brand, is known for 7 easy pieces that go from travel to business to evening without changing. Things like, for example, what I'm wearing today, which I can throw sneakers on and a t-shirt, or I can dress it up with heels or boots and go to a meeting and make a presentation like I'm doing today. I can also take it, roll it up into a ball, and stuff it in my suitcase, and it won't get wrinkled. So those types of things that really make it easier to get dressed. Well, I began to present it to other women, and it started to sell. It wasn't easy, but it started to sell. Other women started to buy it. And the feedback that I got from them started to give me a really good feeling. For example, someone said, I wore that skirt to a meeting, I felt like $1 million. I'm glad you encouraged me to buy this coat because I wear it all the time now and people give me so many compliments. So anyway, these types of things gave me a really good feeling, and I started to realize that pleasing the customer was like a good feeling. And it was coming from inside of me rather than people pleasing as a demand from someone else. So I really enjoy serving the women, serving the customer, and bringing what I believe I've done to help myself to other people. And in addition to that, we are a direct selling company, which means that I also work with other entrepreneurial women who want to sell the clothing to coach them and help them grow personally and professionally to be successful and have the potential to earn even more than they do in their jobs. So the idea of people pleasing, in conclusion, the idea of people pleasing has gone from something that has been a demand on me, placed upon me, which was a love exchange, not a fair one, but it was a demand placed upon me, to something that has come from within as a purpose, as a way of bringing my God-given talent and energy to help others. We're always looking for great people at GOGOgracious. If anyone is interested in learning more about the company, please see me after the meeting. Mr. Toastmaster.